we'll be joined by former ACT MP, former regional and city councillor, lawyer and businesswoman, Hilary Calvert, and she joins us now. Hilary, welcome to the show. Good afternoon to you.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
I can only
you have
just
yourself
hear
on mute? Did
off
you?
and on you, so.
Have you? Okay, you go and sort that out for me then, Josh, and sort that out for me. And I want to talk about something while you sort that out. Good on you. Now, according to this, Ryan Fox has won 1.7. He's won 1.764. No, sorry, I was right. With $1,764,000 for winning the Canadian Open this morning. You know, for 4 days' work, that's pretty good, isn't it? What's that? Over 400? No, six. Ready? Okay. So that's over what? 450,000, almost $1,000 for a day's work. I could handle that. I'm pretty sure I'm not paid $450,000 a day. Hilary, have we got you now?
You have got me now.
Oh, I don't know. Wherever you were, I'm sorry, I can't see you. You're on phone now, is that right?
Yes, I'm on the phone now, that's why.
All right, cool. All right. Now, you've got a whole series of things that you wanted to talk to me about, and do you know what? Noting my exceptional ability to prepare before any show, I've gone and lost them. So you can tell me what you regard as the most important issue this particular week?
Well, I had a few suggestions that we might want to talk about.
Oh, wait on. I'm looking in the wrong place. That's why. Sorry. My apologies. Yes, you did. Many people in the world have been colonized. Maybe it's not a bad thing, or at least it was inevitable anyway. That's a good That's a good topic. It's very current.
Well, it just seemed to me, I started off by thinking, what's wrong with colonisation anyway? And then I had a wee look through the internet, and most people have been colonised one way or the other. In fact, Maori did it themselves. But it's not, I don't see why you would put it as a description. It's just one country coming over and bringing their wicked ways with them from somewhere else and prevailing, really. So like Britain and India and lots of people all over the world have moved into other people's countries and colonised them. But what's actually wrong with
sorry, isn't it just human nature of the time? Superior civilizations, and they were superior, either militarily, technologically, culturally, educationally, or all of those things, dominated weaker human cultures and civilizations and took them over. Isn't that the history of humankind up until now?
Yes, I think. And we say that we're special because we had a treaty, but the treaty just meant that instead of more blood being shed, it was done by way of writing something which wasn't totally agreed to by everybody down on a piece of paper or two. So it stopped the bloodshed way of taking it over, like the other treaties throughout history have done, a description of how we're going to move forward. But it doesn't alter the fact that Maori chose to acknowledge and support the colonisation of New Zealand.
Oh, absolutely.
Seems to me. And for good reason. They got all sorts of things out of it. For example, despite the fact that we have Maori words for the New Zealand Transport Agency, Maori didn't have wheels.
Correct.
We brought
Didn't have writing. No.
So since they didn't have wheels, how can they be in partnership with us for? Well, as if they've been wheeled.
But to be. I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, the issue here is that Maori were, though, having come into contact with Europeans in a real way since about the 1790s, when you've got your first whalers and sailors and the like here. They are bloody early adapters, aren't they? So within 40 years. They've adapted to the point where they are renting sailing ships. This is Maori, renting sailing ships, sailing, utilising the latest and particularly the most destructive technology at the time to wreak havoc on their own. They grab the potato and make it their staple diet or staple starch diet. In fact, it supplants the kumara. They also start to learn, having been taught by the missionaries, how to read their own written language, which they haven't had before, but they've now got one. They really they get into, or some of them, a trade in shrunken heads, and in particularly in tattooed heads, because they've worked out that this has curio value back in the colonizers' homeland. So why don't we just go and tattoo a few of our slaves, cut their head off, sell it to the locals, and fetch a good value for that as well. I mean, they are bloodthirsty, but they're very early adapters, aren't they? Really?
Yeah, but that's what you've described isn't a criticism by way of anything.
No, not at all.
Of Maori.
It's just reality of what happened. Yeah.
Yeah,
they're not like the Aborigines. And the other thing is they intermarry. That's the extraordinary thing, is that the first Europeans that arrive here start having sexual relations and having children with the indigenous folk. So within 40 or 50 years, you've got a whole group of new people who are a mixture of Maori and European, or Maori and English descent. I mean, it's extraordinary.
So the question sort of, though, is, so what's the problem?
Exactly.
I mean, the assumption is that colonisation is a dreadful thing. Colonisation is a mixed blessing, but often a blessing. And I just don't get why.
To be perfectly honest with you, I don't. Apart from being an historical oddity, I don't understand why we're talking about colonisation in the 21st century at all. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Apart from
it's not
being
that odd. Everyone's done it throughout history.
But so what if you were colonised 200 years ago as my bit?
Yes.
Or over 200 years ago now. I mean, I don't care. What do you do? And it's a bit like arguing, well, so let me get this right. The two Taranaki tribes that hired an English vessel to transmit themselves to the Chatham Islands and there commit the only real genocide that's happened in European memory anyhow on this country, on the Chatham Islands. I mean, so that's acceptable, is it? And the answer to that question is, well, yeah, it must be, because nobody's getting upset about it now, are they?
No, and Ngāi Tahu colonised the South Island.
Yes. And Te Rauparaha and Te Aotearoa got pushed out because they weren't strong enough from the Waikato, and they started to wreak their havoc down in the bottom half of the North Island and the top half of the South. I mean, it's just the strongest prevailed. And Maori were as part of that as much as the English were. So what?
Yeah, so why are we saying we need to teach our children how part of our population is part of the evil colonisation of New Zealand? Because I gather what we're teaching when we have compulsory teaching around that is that it's a bad thing. And
Correct.
It's something evil that one lot of us did to the other lot of us, even if you
That's
could
right.
discriminate between one lot and another, which of course you can't.
Yep. The really worst part of this is the lack of intellect. So it is deciding that you're going to use the values of 2025, moral and community, and then you're going to go back into the past and apply that morality to the 19th century or the late 18th century. It's an absurdity.
Yeah, and only when it suits you, though, because
Yes.
it's not forever. For example, what the returning of land and things that was stolen, as it were, according to the rules at the time, is right and proper. However, when you say some people on the other side of the world have shrunken heads or whatever else they have that are Maori and they should return them to people, you have to be saying from a sort of a legal point of view, people are not entitled to divest themselves of their own property. They cannot make a deal to say, I am giving this to you or I'm selling it to you. Because
Right.
they can always ask for it back. It's not, there are no transfers of anything. And so you're saying Maori, for example, are so weak and so unable to be trusted to act in their own interests in some weird fashion that they can't sell something to somebody?
Well, it's interesting. Last week, I interviewed Ngāti Kahungunu iwi leader Baden Barber, who, as he pointed out, is one of only 2 democratically elected iwi leaders in New Zealand. That's just the process that Kahungunu, good on them, employ for their leadership. I don't know what they use in other ones, but one would assume that it's not democratic. Certainly isn't in Ngāi Tahu. Anyhow, putting all that to one side. And he made the point that although there was a particular mountain, I joked with him, I said it's a hill, it's only 650 metres for God's sake, it had been sold legitimately in 1854 along with the surrounding land. And so in 2025, they wanted to be able to get access to that land and were seeking to apply some, shall we say, public and protest pressure to effect a deal, whether it was getting access to the land or having those people sell that particular property to them in 2025. But there was no question that they had it was a valid commercial transaction of the time, and that Maori had knowingly sold that land and that so-called mountain to European or English settlers. I'm struggling to see the problem.